All right, welcome back, biologists. So at this point, you can tell me all about how our digestive system works, all the way from the mouth, all the way to the end of the large intestine. But let's talk about some variations we see. Although all mammals kind of fit the same general pattern, we have a lot of variations that occur depending on some differences, especially in our diet. So the digestive system of vertebrates are variations on a theme, although our form fits function. The shape of our intestines, the shape of our teeth are, that is going to fit their function, what they are supposed to be digesting. First would be our dentition. So dentition is the teeth we have. This is one example of variation reflecting diet. Non-mammalian vertebrates don't have a lot of dental specialization. We might see things like the fangs of a snake that have a little bit of variation in them. But really in mammals is where we see a lot of specialized teeth, especially based on whether we are carnivores. In carnivores, you can see these large front teeth for being able to rip into flesh. Herbivores here that have very strong premolars to be able to grind plant material, and omnivores, which kind of have a mix of both teeth made for eating meat and teeth made for eating plant material. Okay, so there's kind of what we just talked about. Carnivores have jagged premolars and molars to grind and shred food, large pointed incisors to kill, rip, and tear flesh. Herbivores have broad premolars and molars to grind that tough plant material. And incisors and canines are modified to break off pieces of vegetation. Many may even lack canines. And then omnivores have modified teeth to eat both plant and meat. Adults normally have 32 teeth as part of our skull. So from front to back, we have 4 incisors that do things like clip and snip. Then 2 incisors, 1 on each side, for ripping and tearing. 4 premolars, 2 on each side, for grinding. And 6 molars, that includes your wisdom teeth, for crushing. So 3 on each side. So many of you probably have had your wisdom teeth out, or maybe soon getting your wisdom teeth out, which means you have 4 molars left on each side. We also see adaptations in the stomach and intestinal system of animals, depending on what we eat. Here would be an example of 2 animals, one that eats meat and one that eats plants. Although they are not very different in weight and size, you can see here differences in the small intestine here. In length, you can see difference in the cecum here, this little cecum versus this larger one, and the colon. This one that you see has a lot more foldings, a lot more length. That is going to be a lot more important in being able to have more time to break down food matter. Carnivores, like this cat, tend to have large expandable stomachs. This is especially important in animals like lions that may go a long time between meals. It allows that stomach to be filled up. The length of digestive tract varies between carnivores and herbivores because it's hard to digest plant material. Carnivores have a shorter system that gives a greater absorptive surface for our herbivores to be able to obtain their nutrients from their food. Okay, so what are 2 advantages of a longer alimentary canal for processing plant material that is difficult to digest? We also see mutualistic adaptations. Mutualism is a type of symbiosis between humans and many bacteria, the bacteria that live in our intestines and elsewhere in our body that are not harmful to us and actually are helpful and important to our body's health. Many intestinal bacteria produce vitamins like vitamin K and some of our B vitamins. They regulate the development of the intestinal epithelium. They regulate the function of our innate immune system. These are things we talked about in our last video. The microbiome, when you see this word, I want you to be able to define it for me. The microbiome is all the microbes that live in and on your body. And you can actually change it depending on what you're eating. So people who eat different types of diets will have different bacteria in their microbiomes. It can change with disease states. If you have a disease, you may have a different type of infectious bacteria growing in you. It also changes with age. It can change with hormones. Here you can see, here's an infant And there's these different types of bacteria. Each color refers to a different type of bacteria. You can see babies that are drinking breast milk have different bacteria in their microbiome compared to babies that are drinking formula or babies that are on solid food. And then this changes to a toddler who's healthy. This is what you want their microbiome to look like in a toddler. On antibiotic treatment, you can see that this kills a lot of these other phyla and a lot of these firmicutes, but allows the bacteroides to grow a lot. And a baby or a toddler who is malnourished has a very different set of microbiome. An adult, whether they're healthy or obese, have differences in their microbiome. Whether obesity causes the microbiome difference or the microbiome difference causes the obesity is something that's still being studied a lot. And elderly people, 65 to 80 years old and over 100 years old, you can see this aging is also changing our microbiome. There's a lot of really fascinating research going on here. And if this is something that interests you, seeing how bacteria can affect our health and help us be healthy, this may be something you would like to study. You might want to take a microbiology course, or even consider a career in a medical or laboratory-based study. Okay, there are different mutualistic adaptations in herbivores. A lot of herbivores, those would be like ruminants, like our cow, have a part of their body called a fermentation chamber. And within the fermentation chamber, there are mutualistic microbes that break down cellulose. So if you remember back to the 11-10 class you took last semester, there's chemical differences between cellulose, which you can't break down, and starch, which we can. So cellulose has beta-glycosidic linkages, which we can't break. That means that we cannot break down cellulose. So a lot of the cellulose that we eat passes through our digestive system as fiber. It's undigestible. But the bacteria that live in our intestinal system can break down a lot of these complex polysaccharides like cellulose. So cows and other herbivores have fermentation chambers to allow these microbes to digest a lot of their cellulose, allow them to get more nutrients from their food. Rabbits and rodents are going to pass food through their alimentary canal twice. That is exactly what it sounds like. They eat something, they pass it through. They leave their droppings, eat their droppings, pass it through a second time. And at the second time, their droppings are more like solid pellets that they leave behind. Then giant tapeworms, these are really interesting. These are the huge worms that live in the like deep sea hydrothermal vents. They don't have any digestive system at all. They're relying on mutualistic bacteria on their bodies to supply all of their food. In a cow and a ruminant, there are 4 different chambers. The food enters the rumen and the reticulum, where the mutualistic bacteria will digest cellulose. Then they regurgitate and rechew their cud. The ruminants or the cows will regurgitate and rechew their food. It comes right back up. They chew it a second time. Then it goes back down. This gives an opportunity to enhance the actions of the microbes. The re-swallowed cud is going to enter into the omasum. Water is going to be removed and then is going to pass through the omasum for the cow's enzymes to digest it. So with the mutualistic bacteria, they can actually break down a lot of the nutrients from the grass to absorb it. Okay, what features of a mammal's digestive system make an attractive habitat for mutualistic microbes? Ooh, you know what? I didn't actually tell you the answer to this one, but this would be something that would be good for you to Google and see what you can come up with. Why do we have mammals? Why do we have microbes that want to live within our digestive tract? Things like it's nice and warm. There's not too much oxygen. There's a whole lot of food there. It's just the perfect little space. It's moist. They've got just everything they need for them to flourish. Okay, we're going to make one final video for this chapter talking about how we regulate our digestive system. All right, I will see you soon. Bye.